makes for a dynamic presentation as well. Okay, cool. So what we as a partner, we're working a lot with different clients using every hub, like the marketing, the service hub, the sales hub. There is an upcoming e-commerce hub, which is planned potentially in this year or beginning of next year. So basically, the landscape of selling and digital selling has really changed. Like, even we had first in 2020, we had all the effects of COVID and people starting to working from home and stuff. And now we have AI, which it basically has been something people have been talking about, like nerding into, if they were into AI for like 20 years. But now for the last, I don't know, maybe 2 years or so, it's become something like, sometimes I feel like automation is the same thing as AI if you talk to people, which it isn't. And we actually we have a series of 10 LinkedIn Lives, Structsales, where we talk about AI and how this is impacting companies and sales reps and service reps. So it's a really interesting area. But basically, we're selling in a totally different way today. I mean, AI and automation is a critical component of selling, and we've seen both good and bad things in terms of automation. And you know, if you work with Sales Hub, you can do sequences, you can automate emails and stuff. So this has gone, from my perspective, maybe a bit too far. And I'm thinking that AI, where we can move onto the next level of automation and personalization, could make it even more challenging if we misuse the tools, if we don't use them in the most efficient way. Because, I mean, as we have a pretty tough time out there. So as a buyer, it used to be that you contact the seller has all the answers. He or she could actually give you the only answers they knew, and you couldn't find information in a very simple way. Today, it is a very complex thing to buy a solution or so. I mean, from the traditional funnel where we had the awareness, consideration, decision, which actually HubSpot started to talk about many years ago, we've moved into a circle where the flywheel, where we communicate with the client regardless of where they are in their own decision or buying journey. But this is basically what it looks like. And specifically, if you're buying a more complex product or tool, I mean, you start with your identifying a challenge and a problem you have, and you want to select a supplier at the end, but and you move like one step forward, 3 steps back, then you start over again. So again, this flywheel way of thinking and the new customer platform focus from HubSpot, as opposed to the traditional CRM focus, is I think a really good next step to take, because it all has to do with giving the client what she wants to have in the different phases of her own journey. So this is a challenge. But then we have, like, so how do we solve this? Yes, we look for tools, for tech stacks. We invest in AI. We buy CRMs and tools, and with those tools, we will be supported in automating stuff and saving time, right? So this is a challenge, because this is the way the sales tech landscape looks today. So we have, and these are like divided into engagement tools, productivity and enablement tools, sales intelligence, pipeline and analytics, and people management. And I see, like, how are you supposed to be choosing in between all of these tools out there? I see a lot of stuff on LinkedIn, and I see a lot of discussions ongoing that, hey, we need to give our sales reps the right tech setup. They need to use the right tools to be able to work efficiently. But when you look at this, I mean, the tools will never ever stop. So I think we need to think about maybe not focusing on having like 25, or I read somewhere that the standard rep So if you're selling in a SaaS environment, you have like 15 or 25 sales tools. So how are you supposed to be managing that? Why not limit the amount of tools you have, but do it really, really, really well, and maybe integrate some additional ones to the tool? So I found this, actually it's unknown, I don't know who said this, but in a world where AI and automation are rewriting the rules of engagement, we must move from being those like data analytic people who just crunch the numbers to basically start thinking about how can we be value creators, how can we give our clients value in what we are communicating and what we are doing. And one way to do this is to not think about how can I automate as much as possible so I can reach 150 people instead of 100 people. What if we say, how can I reach 25 people who really need what I'm selling and who I really can help and who I can build real perceived customer value for? Because if we don't, we're going to be the nagging, irritating reps on LinkedIn who are sending automated emails. I got a message a few weeks ago from a HubSpot partner who wanted to help us with our HubSpot portal, which is pretty funny seeing that we've done this for 10 plus years soon. But this is what's happening when we don't think like the next step. So the question then becomes, where do we focus? Like we could do anything with any kind of tool or system. We can automate the heck out of everything we do so we can reach 1,000 people. But if we're going to focus on the ROI connected to time, money, and our clients, our customers, where do we focus? And this could have been a presentation of 25 areas of focus. I think I nailed it down to maybe 4, and then kind of I've tried to summarize it. But from my perspective, and having the experience for many years to train salespeople, meet with salespeople, selling HubSpot, and talking about how to work efficiently with a CRM, one of them, the first area of focus, I would say, is to adapt. This is to stay relevant. So the focus is to be able to adapt. Because if we don't learn and evolve and develop as salespeople, we're going to be left behind. And this is not the same thing as to say that you need to be an expert in AI to be able to sell, or that you need 25 different tools. But you need to understand how these tools and these automation sequences and processes are supporting you in your sales role. We need to stay updated with trends and technology. We need to train ourselves in this. But I would say, like in a very simple world, I would say like Sales Hub and LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and maybe a prospecting tool will take us pretty far. And I'm talking then, and this is like 2 or 3 tools, not 25. But we need to know what we're saying no to as well. So we need to know that there are 25 or 250 tools out there, but we need to choose the ones who are actually helping us. It's interesting. We spoke, Amanda, we spoke before we started this, working with feel free to say this when it's when you take over a competitor to HubSpot, another CRM. And the big difference here is that, I mean, that CRM, people don't want to work in that tool. They don't want to do stuff. You need to block admin sessions to be able to enter data in that tool, as opposed to HubSpot, where my experience and most of the clients working with Sales Hub actually want to work in the tool and do things as they happen, so that they don't have to block an hour or two to do admin stuff nobody cares about. So adapt to stay relevant. That's the first area. The second one is connected to the first one. It's the learning curve. So by knowing what's out there, by adapting to new platforms and tools, and doing this with onboarding skilling, so that, for example, you start as a sales rep for company X, there is a onboarding plan for you where you need to be trained in 3 or 4 different tools to be able to sell more efficiently and better. And these tools should be connected to, is there a use to have I don't know what kind of example, but do we really need to have 9 different prospecting tools? No, maybe one. So how do we choose the one? But it depends on the culture we have, the clients we serve, and the way we work with selling. So this is also super important. So the first one, adapt to stay relevant, and the learning curve is, I mean, we can't be experts doing everything in the world, and specifically not with prospecting tools. So let's focus on what's most important. And number 3, relationship building and AI. This is obviously a very interesting and very highly interesting area. And it is true that AI can automate and optimize a lot of sales tasks. But again, not today. I don't know in 5 years or 10 years or how many years into the future. But today, like emotional intelligence, relationship building, the humanizing of sales is not replaced by AI yet. I'll give you an example. I'm actually doing this HubSpot user group in Dublin. I'm locally in Dublin. We have a client here, so I'm going to do a workshop with them afterwards. I could have done this digitally. I do it 9 times out of 10. In this case, I felt, hey, I'll just combine a visit to the HubSpot office. I'll do the workshop, and I know that it's going to be a totally different experience because we will meet, we interact like people, like humans. So we need to build strategies for maintaining customer relations without. I have a daughter. She's 16. She's behind her screen all the time. It's very. She likes that. She has a lot of friends. They don't meet as much as I did when I was a kid, and I might sound old, but I mean, relationship building and closing business and working together, eventually, at least, you need to meet, and you need to have those, read those signals, see the reactions of a person, and be in the same room. Because the risk with automation and not being human is what we're seeing on a very simple level today, where LinkedIn automated messages are all over the place. People give you a connection request, and as soon as you accept, there is a sales pitch. There is no long-term planning or patience when we're selling, because we think, hey, we can automate a lot of stuff. Why should I wait for 3 weeks? Maybe comment on a few posts and maybe be a genuine interested person in this company before I try to sell them, if I can do it with 50 people by just a click of a button. So that's a challenge. So to maintain these customer relations where we are today, we need to personalize, we need to automate, we need to work efficiently, but we need to specifically choose when and where we do this so that we can become relevant again. Because not being relevant is one of the biggest challenges I'm seeing that sales teams are having today, because every single pitch, every single LinkedIn message comes from the same template. It is the same thing. You just change the name of the product, and it's even like the personalization. Everything is exactly the same, and the time between the messages or emails as well, because we build cadences or sequences based on a best practice, which worked 6 or 7 years ago. It worked okay. Today, everybody's just frustrated. So risk with automation and not being human, this is area number 4. So if we look forward, the way forward, and how should we think then? And my perspective on this is, if we take the challenges and the opportunities moving forward in the digital age. So I said adapt or lag behind. That is the first takeaway. So the steps you could take if you're selling, regardless if you're a sales rep or you're a small company owner, or if you're a consultant or in a selling role, you need to think about, where am I today in terms of, am I meeting my client in the digital, like the buyer's journey? Am I automating things I need to do? Am I investing in becoming a better sales rep with the help of AI and tools, but not letting them take over? What is the most flexible way to work as a modern sales rep? Then we have adoption and learning. So you can't say I'm not interested in AI. I think it's I don't do that. I only go for face-to-face visits. I use my phone, and sometimes I do digital meetings. AI, I don't think it can replace me as a salesperson. I'm not interested. You can't say that anymore. You couldn't say that during COVID, and after COVID. You can definitely not say this now, because I mean, another good example is copywriters, people writing stuff and publishing things. If you're not interested in that area, exactly as in sales, you're going to be replaced, basically, because the things you do manually can be automated. If you're doing like things people are not interested in and just sending spam emails, you're going to be replaced. So you need to find, okay, so which kind of platform do I need? What kind of a CRM do we need? Like how are we working with data management? So HubSpot, for example, 360 customer platform, one truth, one place to find reports, KPIs, numbers, everything. You don't need to log into different tools. You have everything in one place. So that's one way of thinking about it. And then this is connected to investment. So we need to buy AI and AI CRM. We need to buy an AI tool. We need to buy prospecting tools. We need to have Zoom info. We need to have, in Sweden, Vino or Guava or similar tools to be able to prospect better. Do we really? Maybe, but again, we have LinkedIn. We have an integration. I don't know if you're going to talk more about this, Amanda and Megan, but the integration we have today is going to be even pretty soon, and it's going to be really, really cool in terms of integrating with LinkedIn with Sales Navigator. So again, costs and ROI considerations. Like, don't go crazy investing in 15, 25 tools, 30 tools for your sales team if you don't need it. Like, keep it simple. Just focus on the ones you definitely need now, which is a modern CRM, maybe Sales Navigator if you're in B2B selling. Definitely, I would say that, and maybe another one. And start with that and see where you end up. Like, I meet a lot of clients who are actually still using spreadsheets and ask me if they can import this into HubSpot CRM. So, I mean, not every organization is talking AI and looking into the future. We have a lot of companies who are pretty much lagging in terms of AI. So there's a lot of opportunity to do quick fixes, and you don't need to invest a lot of money. And then we have customer centricity, which I call the human element. So please don't forget that we're talking to another human. Please don't forget that you don't want to be automated. You don't want to be one of the 500 emails you're receiving, you and 499 people to you don't want to feel that. So if you feel like that, if you get spammed on LinkedIn, why are you doing the same thing as a sales rep? This is a question I often ask. Like, if you were receiving this email or this cadence of emails, how would you feel? I mean, I would know it's automated. I would feel not very special and not very, very prioritized. Exactly. So how do you think your clients are feeling because you're doing the same thing? So again, it's pretty simple. Sometimes you need to invest more time and not automate and not do the cool tech stuff. And actually, you're going to be more human and you're going to close more business. So skills and development, final one. So skills and development, again, future-proof your way of selling. Don't stop developing. Know that there is a tech stack of 400 sales tools. Have a look at them. Don't implement 55 of them. Have a look at them, and maybe it'll give you some experience in how to use the 4 or 5 tools you have today based on the potential you have in the different ones. And again, I don't know if we're going to still have like 300 or 400 tech tools in a few years' time, or if everything is going to be kind of integrated in maybe a few larger ones, but we'll see. But for now, it's super important to stay relevant. I mean, know what's happening and stay on top of your game is developing and becoming better at what you do, understanding how tech impacts our lives as sellers. But you don't need to implement everything. You don't need to try everything directly. So before I leave this to my HubSpot colleagues, I just want to summarize that from my perspective. Then this is a HubSpot user group, so the ones of you who are joining are using HubSpot. So I just wanted to emphasize on the fact that HubSpot has gone from being a marketing, when we started working with HubSpot 2014 as partners, we worked with Marketing Hub, and it was a marketing tool, and we connected with Salesforce CRM, we connected with other CRMs. Now this is not a marketing tool, this is a customer journey tool. This is a tool where you can meet your client in all potential channels, in all maturity levels of their buying way of buying, etc., etc. So if you don't know, just super short recap, except for the Marketing Hub, we have Sales Hub, which is, some people call it the CRM, but basically the CRM is where all the data lives. And then we have Sales Hub to connect clients, prospecting, and the stuff Amanda and Megan are going to talk about. Then we have Service Hub, which is customer success, service reps. Operations Hub, if you haven't tried that out, I mean, just Google it, find out the way you can keep your data clean and intact, and from capitalizing letters to having data manually entered not correctly, and clean this, and everything about data management. Then you have your website. If you're not a super large company, you can definitely move your website into HubSpot and do everything in one place. And the upcoming Commerce Hub, which will give you the possibilities to do e-commerce and sell stuff online for real. Good. Thank you. So I think I actually have a few minutes left, and I'm leaving those for Q&A. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I am going to see if there are any questions. Do we have any questions from anyone listening? I would be happy to answer those. It's always a bit like when people need to write things and put it in, it's could be a bit tough. Amanda and Megan, do you have anything based on my presentation? You actually haven't seen it before. Do you have any feedback or do you have any questions? Am I? Wow, that's interesting. That's totally crazy.
No, it was really good. Just thinking maybe we should say how to get to the chat, that it's below here to click and get to the chat.
Oh yeah. So yeah, exactly. Yeah. So down it says chat, and you just click chat, and then you can ask your question. Correct.
I really like the part that you were telling about the personalized approach, and to meet people as well. That's important. That's like common just psychology, that we do feel good when we're faced with a person. So it's definitely good. But with the, like you're saying, the automation, we need to stay on
Yeah.
top of that as well. So finding the balance, it's really good, and you had a lot of good tips there as well.
Perfect. Cool. So I'm going to leave you with that, and I'm going to let you talk more specifically about Sales Hub and the fantastic opportunities we have there. So take it away. I need to run. Thank you for listening, and speak to you soon.
Over to you, Amanda.
All right, so we're starting directly from there. Okay, so yeah, my part is gonna go on kind of following the topic that we just went through, and going through some common mistakes when you're setting up pipelines in the CRM. And here we will go through a bunch of things, but as I said, it will build a little bit upon what we just heard around sales reps and how they will actually work in the tool. So yeah, let's jump into it. So here are a few common mistakes that I've listed. So number one is creating too many pipeline with state station names that are vague, but just in general, creating too many pipelines is also very confusing, and I will drill down into why that is in a second. And number two, not utilizing custom properties in automation. This will essentially just add more manual work, and as said just previously, we need to find the balance between manual tasks and automation, and making sure that the sales reps day to day is not packed with too much. And number three, neglecting to set criteria or triggers from stage advancement. So here we have a lot of tools in HubSpot to make data inputs easier, to make sure that you have all the data in there, and also the triggers that you have from stage advancement is also great to use for just automating. So I will go a little bit into that as well. And four, lack of integration with other tools. HubSpot is great. There's so much that you can do in HubSpot, but there's also things that you might want to do in other tools. And not having the integration will mean that your data is siloed and you don't have one source of truth. So it's really important to make sure that you have all the data and it follows the flow of your sales process, and that the reps and everyone working with the data have um, the most recent data. So yeah, let's jump into the first point. So creating too many pipeline stages. Well, first of all, it's very confusing. You can see here in my little picture, I have some names that make no sense. How are you expecting sales reps to know what the different stages mean? And then you have the too many stages. Um, it's also very, very confusing. You don't know, okay, should it advance now? It's also impossible to do automation on this because most likely the deals are gonna skip stages and you will miss out on the automation. And the wrong deals can slip through here. So what if your stage names are too vague, or maybe you have the first stage being meeting is booked? Well, that's not really, you don't know if it's an opportunity yet. So maybe it shouldn't be in the pipeline. So following up becomes very hard and you don't really know where you're at. So it just makes the process more confusing. So if you think about it, creating too many stages in your pipeline, it can become very overwhelming and it can confuse the sales team. So, for example, having 10 or more stages in a pipeline can make it challenges to track deals effectively. And you might not even understand where you're at this point. So, also, when you're a sales rep, you have a lot of things going on. And you might not be able to know exactly all the deals you have. So, making it as simple as possible will make their brain power going to the things that actually matter. So create a bond between marketing and sales, and utilize HubSpot's non-siloed approach and nurture the prospect that might not be ready to enter the deal stage just yet, and make the sales process just easier for the reps. And you will see the increase in conversion rate, I assure you. So let's jump to the second point: not utilizing automation and properties correctly enough. So this creates a more workload for the reps. We've already talked about that a little bit in the previous step. The workload will be just more, and it might not be clear enough either. You know, with the HubSpot automation, you have the sequences where you can create tasks and make it so much easier for the reps. Um, it also creates fake reports because the data will not be correct, and it's overall not a great customer experience. So, what can we do instead? So, we can educate the sales reps in sequence building. We talked about this earlier with the presentation before, that we want it to be personalized. We don't want it to be just automated and that's it. So, educate sales reps. Make sure that there is some good material. They might not be copywriters, so maybe have a copywriter having some emails, templates put in HubSpot to make it easier for the sales reps, and have the properties needed to be filled out visible in the deal records. So yeah, that's the second one. If we move to the third one, not setting set criteria and triggers. So piggybacking on the previous one, this will also make it just a little bit more of a workload for the reps. And it's inconsistent advancement and misalignment, because you don't know if it's actually going to be in the next stage if you don't have the right criteria set. And if you have a very junior sales rep, they might not be as into what you guys are looking for, the information that you need. So making set criterias will help them, guide them in the journey of becoming more tenured. And also the data gets confusing. I've had this in a lot of discussions with prospects and HubSpot customers. They come and they say the reports are not accurate. Um, I don't feel like I can trust them. And then when we drill down, like, why can't you trust them? It's because their sales process is not accurate enough and they're not having their reps fill in the data that they need. So, this is really important to make sure that you have the right data in the deal stages and in the records to make sure that you can report. And then also, it makes automation much harder to put in place if you don't have a consistent pace and a consistent stage trigger or something like that. So yeah, each pipeline should have a specific set criteria and triggers. Make sure you really put some time and effort into this when you make up your pipelines. So yeah, let's go to the last step, which is number 4, and it's lack of integration. Like I said before, data siloed, that's something we don't want. So data fragmentation and communication gaps. Maybe you have different teams and they are not working in HubSpot. Make sure that we all know what's going on. And then inefficient workflows. We have a lot of app partners, and they have really good tools that you can actually use directly in the workflows. And make sure that you make some research here because you might be missing out on really good tools to make your workflows like even better. So yeah, do some good research before going in. All right, so to the last slide, I believe. Yeah, so I have some honorable mentions. We went through some of the more crucial ones, but also what's important is to not ignore regular maintenance. Also, don't neglect training and user adoption. It was mentioned, but it's really important to make sure that you have trained reps and make sure um, that they know how to use the tool. And third, inadequate reporting and analysis. Like, make sure you have your reports built up because they will also keep track of the data and keep track of should we change the different approaches that we have in the sales pipelines and failure to align with the buyer's journey. Make sure you understand your buyer's journey because that's what you should be building your pipelines upon. So yeah, that's all of the things from me. If you have any questions, the chat is down here and I'm super happy to answer any of them as well. Yeah, just as Mega says in the chat, we have some examples for you too coming up. But yeah, thank you for listening.
In the interest of time, I'm going to. Oh, there you go. We have a question coming in.
How would you best utilize tasks together with the pipeline? And it's a really good question. I think it really depends, like I said in the end, about your buyer's journey and your sales process. How I like to do it, based on like being in the environment, it's really nice to have some tasks being created from workflows and also through the different sequences that you built up, and to use the task there, like I think it really, like, based on the presentation we had before, automating plus manual is the way to go. So making sure that you have some tasks in between manuals, automation, I mean, and so it actually becomes automated manual, so it feels more personalized. So yeah, utilizing them to make sure it feels personalized. So if you have an email that goes out, maybe make sure that there is a task going like, all right, so let's call this person as well, or let's add them on LinkedIn. So it actually feels more personalized. And then also educate the sales reps on how to use the task queues because they're amazing and it will make their days just so much easier. Thank you.
And I actually have a few examples as well. I can just kick off from my end, and John, if you have more questions, we can just answer them right at the end. All right. Okay. I'm going to kick us off. It was great to hear the introduction to today's session, which was focused on how to keep the human element of AI alive. And this is a great like second half to that because I'm going to speak a little bit about how you can start using the automation and the AI in HubSpot, and then talk about some of the updates that we have made in inbound, with especially with regards to AI, but also some of the elements of Sales Hub as well. So how can sales reps become more productive by using automation and AI? And I kind of think of it as three different buckets. First is sequences. Again, most of the people in the room today are familiar with the different features of HubSpot Sales Hub. So I'm going to dive into it, presuming that. Some suggestions on how you can use sequences is make them more action-based outreaches, meaning depending on what action your prospect is taking, whether it is visiting a certain page, you can create sequences specific to that. To give an example, here's a this is actually a live one that I used to use for a very long time, where whenever my prospect was visiting a pricing page, I wanted to reach out with a really customized outreach which focused on the fact that you are checking the pricing page, and some of the tasks were also related to that. So this is something that can be really useful in making sure that even though you've got a long list of tasks to do, you know exactly what you should be talking about when you're speaking to a certain person. So you can build something of this sort, and with our new sequence tools as well, you're able to track a lot more detailed breakdown of what your numbers look like. So this is a great example of it. Apart from that, we can also start using sequences to re-engage with closed lost deals, and this could be more focused on what was the reason for the deal being closed lost. So for example, again, I had actually built a few sequences which were specific to why a certain deal didn't go through in the past. Like for example, if someone did not give a reason as to why they chose some other product, or maybe they just dropped the project completely, then I use the closed loss generic. Timing was a common one, because sometimes it's not so much that we don't want to use HubSpot now, it's just that we want to use HubSpot at a later time when we have, I don't know, more sales reps in the pipeline, something of that sort. So you can create more customized ones. This will allow you to almost contextualize and add that relevancy that Oliver was speaking about earlier. A lot of the functionality is definitely automated because a lot of the steps involved are automated. But there were a few things that you can add in, like things like LinkedIn tasks, which will be a little bit more specific and something which you have a lot more control over. And you can decide when you want to send out those messages as well. Another good example for me, which worked a lot as a sales rep, was following up for no shows and meetings. So let's say someone's booked a meeting with you, but for whatever reason they're not able to make it. It almost was a little bit passive aggressive, but it always worked for me. So this was a no show kind of a sequence where I was like, okay, maybe something came up. Can we reschedule? And what was really interesting is that this had a very high meeting rate as well. This works. So this is a sequence that your sales reps can use today to make sure that none of the active conversations actually lose momentum. And another common one is also event promotion. We do have some out of the box sequences that are available that you can make use of. There are already templates existing in the HubSpot system, but if you need more suggestions, we actually have a very prolific forum where you have our customers and our users post a lot of these sequences as well. Kind of going into the workflow bits, some suggestions that we have in terms of how you can use workflows to automate and make life easier for your sales reps. One is switching on notifications for your sales teams. So just let them know, inform them, train them that you can actually switch on notifications when a contact is visiting a certain website page. And this sits under our notifications. You can actually choose who you get notifications about. Do you want it to be an email? Do you want it real time? This gives you a lot more control. As a sales rep, I used to use this quite a bit to kind of start my day and see, okay, who all have visited my website, and give them a call first, so that it's more relevant that I'm reaching out to them, and I can cut through all the noise that they might receive on their phones or their email boxes as well. Another good one is to prompt tasks and activities for deals to proactively make sure they don't slip through the cracks. So a good example of that would be maybe a reminder every 60 days of no activity that it's a good time to reach out again, maybe check on what's happening, maybe even send a prompt to the managers of the sales reps to let them know that there are these many stale deals in the pipeline that haven't had any movement in the X number of days in the past. So that could be something that you use workflows for. The last one is something that we have recently implemented internally at HubSpot as well, which is to include the right team members based on which stage a particular deal is in. For example, if the stage of the deal is in the demo stage or the solution consideration stage, it might be a good idea to include your sales engineers or maybe the team that builds your proposals, because that's a good time to make your selling team start working like a team as well. And you can use the workflows to automate that assignment and the notification of a new deal in the pipeline as well. Moving on to AI, I think AI has almost become like a dirty word now because everyone's using it all the time. There are a few features which I think sales reps can use to make sure they're becoming a lot more productive without losing the human touch. So you can use the HubSpot AI tool to write an email for you. It could be to draft an introduction, a cold outreach, or even a follow up email. And of course, make sure you tweak it to kind of match your style a little bit. Play around with the different style options that HubSpot has as well. But this is a good starting point, like to kind of start the email and then you tweak it to your own use. You can also start using ChatSpot. I don't know if you've explored that yet, but this is a part of the HubSpot product, and it sits under. If you go into your profile, you'll be able to see chatspot.ai, and it actually has a bunch of different templates that you can make use of right away, which will allow you to ask questions. As you notice, this is still in beta, so we are constantly working on this, but this is a great tool for you to kind of summarize your sales performances, or maybe you want to track, okay, how many people did you reach out in the X number of days? You can start using that as well. Lastly, this is not a new feature, but it's definitely overlooked by a lot of our customers. It's actually the likelihood to close scoring field that we have. It's an AI predictive score. So, how we do that is we take into account all the deals that are closing, all the customers that you're gaining in your system, and try to draw parallels based on that. As a follow up to this discussion, that could be something that you explored as well. Use search for the likelihood to close field, and this is actually available in our enterprise tier as well. So use that to prioritize the leads that you want to go after, so that you can be a lot more productive and not wasting time on leads that are not warmed up, or they're not even probably they're not even thinking about your business when you're reaching out to them. All right, so these were some of the tips that, again, this is a quick summary. We have a lot of suggestions for you that you can make use of, but I'm going to switch gears a little bit and jump into the inbound 2023 product updates. But before I do that, let me just do a quick check on the questions here. How do you find email addresses? Oh, thank you, Amanda. Thanks for answering them. All right, yeah. I'm excited to share about some of the updates that are going to happen even from the Sales Navigator standpoint. So I'm just going to jump in, but yeah, feel free to keep putting in the questions in the chat as well. And if you're wondering where you can get access to a lot of these beta products, beta updates that I'm going to talk about, you can actually see that as a part of your HubSpot profile itself. So you will see something called as product updates. You can go in and you will see a section on the betas as well, and you can just join in right from there. Obviously, some are public updates, public betas, so you can join immediately. For some, you'll have to request for permissions as well. All right, so are we ready? I literally had to remove a bunch of updates because that's how many updates we have had. But we've tried to break it down into saying which tier of the product it's a part of, whether it's a beta or in live, and what are some of the use cases for those features as well. So let's kick it off with Marketing Hub. You will see for the next few updates, all of them are AI centric, but it's to make your lives easier. You've got an AI subject line generator. We've got an AI generated social copy, and this is something that is accessible in our blog itself. You can make use of it today. We are also working on an AI website builder. Right now, this is applicable for all our new users. We are working on making this available for our existing users as well. It's kind of a small little widget that we've built, so you can describe your business, what are your goals, and maybe choose a style. And HubSpot will create the basic website for you, which you can then tweak from. Apart from websites as well, you can now create blog posts that are also AI generated based on some of the topics that you're looking at. And it will allow you to focus on some of the keywords using SEMrush to power that whole feature. This literally takes few minutes, so you can use this to generate the content and then use your business knowledge to kind of tweak it and make it a lot more personalized and a lot more impactful as well. The same lies true for any pages that you're building. We now have the option of just generating a title and a meta description very quickly. I don't know if it is common with everyone, but for me, whenever I'm creating any kind of web pages, creating a meta description takes me longer sometimes. So this is really handy for that. And the same is true for the AI image generation. I have played around with this quite a bit. I've tried silly things like a cat and dog walking through amusement park, and I've got some really good results out of it. So give this a spin and see how some of the suggestions that come up, how that can be used for your posting as well. Same lies true for any kind of editing that you want to do. So maybe you've written something down and you want to change the tone. You can make use of AI for that as well. And the same lies true for if you're trying to create a landing page based on certain content. You can now use our free AI marketing asset creator. This is in public beta as well. So just keep in mind that it might not be the most optimum solutions, but we are getting there. It's currently free, but the pricing might change in the coming few months or few quarters as well. The same lies true for if you're trying to create ads, whether it's LinkedIn or it's Facebook. You can now use HubSpot to generate the copy as well. And it will actually walk you through the different elements that you want to add into your copy so that it makes a lot more relevant in terms of the ads that you're generating as well. All right. So those were all our AI marketing updates. Jumping into Sales Hub and Service Hub. I'm really sorry if I'm going a little fast because we actually have a lot of updates. One of our biggest update from the Sales Hub side was our prospecting workspace. This is something that is available in our system right now. You can have a really nifty view of all your tasks, your schedule, and any sequences that you're focusing on. This is going to make life a lot easier for reps to make them a lot more productive and help them prioritize as well. And that moves us to the next bit, which is a new update on Sales Hub, which is now you can have leads, and you can use leads to manage the progress of certain contacts. This is really useful if you have like existing customers as well, because you can almost create a bit of a process for your sales reps to also engage with your existing customers by creating them into leads and lead management, doing lead management through that as well. Lead management is also available as a part of your prospecting workspace, which is what I made reference to here. So go ahead and play around with this. This is available for our pro and enterprise customers right now. We also have sequence outcome reporting. Some of the sequence that I was showing you earlier, we now have more detailed information with regards to what the deal rate was, percentage of contacts that resulted in converting to a deal from a sequence. You'll be able to look at that as well as the revenue that is being generated based on sequences. I know this was extremely crucial for me because I did use sequences quite a bit as a sales rep, and to be able to, go to my team and say, this has worked for me and generated X amount of revenue is a game changer. So this is something that's available for our enterprise customers today. We also now have a lead funnel report going back to our new feature, which is generating leads or using leads. You can now have a funnel report to track where your leads are falling off or where you should be working on converting better. And you also see what some general information about how long it is taking, what is the average conversion time looking like. You get a bunch of reports there as well. We also have a dashboard, and this is specifically for sales managers in the room. We've got some prospecting activities reports. So, very quickly, you're able to track, okay, how many meetings are being booked, how many contacts are being added to sequences, what calls and tasks are being done. So, this is a very quick dashboard available out of the box for our pro and enterprise customers today. And here's one of the most exciting updates. So we now have the capacity to link Sales Navigator over to HubSpot. And it's a huge improvement from our previous integration because now we will also be able to push data from LinkedIn Sales Navigator over to HubSpot. This is something that HubSpot has been working behind the scenes to create this partnership with Sales Navigator, and this is one of the only products. HubSpot is the only product which is able to do that right now. It is currently in private beta, and we are hoping to open this up to more people in the coming few months, most likely in the first quarter of 2024. So please keep a lookout. This is going to help. I think it was Soren who had the question about finding email addresses. This could be a good step in between when you are reaching out to folks on LinkedIn. On the other side of things, once we've got deals in the pipeline, we're also now able to use forecast insights. We have some out of the box insights that are available for any of the forecasting tools that you're using right now. And you will be able to very quickly see how healthy your pipeline is and see what the trends are across the quarter, across the month, and break it down to year on year as well. And the same, taking it one step forward, we also want to track how accurate the forecast is. For any sales managers or directors in the room, you would agree like forecasting is an art almost, even though there's so much science behind it. The forecast accuracy tracking is going to enable you to see and manage that information a lot better. And you'll be able to see, who needs more, which of your sales teams need more guidance in being able to forecast accurately as well. This is going to power your trend and pattern identification a lot more. The same that we are working on now is to kind of push it a little bit forward and do an AI based forecasting. This is still in private beta, and in fact, like only a few people even internally have access to this. As and when we make updates on this, you will hear more, but this is something which is in the works right now. And right now, if you look at some of our forecasting options that are available, they are focused on pipelines, but you can actually now have forecast across multiple pipelines. So imagine if you have a pipeline for your existing customers versus your new customers, you're now able to look at that forecast in one single place across all those pipelines as well. This is live today, so I'm sure you will be able to access it in your systems already. Another really exciting update, and this is something that our sales managers had asked for a very long time, which is being able to inspect deals and see insights on some of these deals and the sales velocity of these deals as well. This is really helpful when you're having like pipeline reviews with your teams. And if you want to track things like average deal age or average deal size, having this deal inspection view is going to make your life a lot easier. The same thing kind taking a step forward, and especially for our sales operation folks in the call, you will now be able to create funnel reports which not just have the different stages, but it will also give you information about the stages that are being skipped. This was one of the most commonly asked requests, so I'm happy to share that we can now track any deal that has even skipped the different stages and make sure you're still tracking the funnel report based on that. Next up is the deal journey analytics. If any of you are Marketing Hub users, you would have seen this in our Marketing Enterprise, but we now also have this as a part of Sales Hub where you're able to track the deal journey analytics. This is extremely helpful when you want to see what are some of the stages that are being skipped or where you are losing out on a lot of deals. This will give you a very good view of that, and it'll allow you to see what are the steps you might need to tweak. Maybe you need to train your sales reps to manage those leakages in the journey as well, or you can also take that as a update for your buyer journey and update your sales process based on that as well. So going back to what Amanda was sharing, when you are constantly tweaking your pipelines, you can get some data from the deal journey analytics to help you do that as well. Next up, I'm not sure if you've already explored this, but we have deal tags that are available. You can make use of them based on what you see over here, where you track large deals, you track urgent deals, you track deals which are probably scheduled to close end of this month, but there hasn't been any activities done in the X number of days. So you can actually start drawing your attention by using these deal tags and enable your sales reps to focus on the right deals at the right time. Next up, we also have Content Assistant now available on our mobile app. We are constantly making updates to our mobile app. This is an update which is only for iOS at this point. Should go live for
1 second.
Android.
It's actually available on both iOS and Android.
Okay, thank you so much for clarifying that. So it's available on both now. So for all our folks on the go using Content Assistant, you will be able to see that today under our public beta. Next up, I think trade shows are up and running again, and this makes it really easy for you to create new contacts when you're meeting these folks at different events. This is going to make life quicker without having that awkward situation about you exchanging business cards. So this is going to make life a lot easier. And yeah, we're looking forward to using this for our own in-person events as well. Um, One fun update from Service Hub. This is really useful for complicated conversations that are happening. You can now have an AI generated summary for, let's say, a particular discussion with a customer in your inbox. And this will enable you to, let's say, you are having, as a service rep, you're having a conversation, and maybe you're going on leave and someone else has to take it away, take it from you. You can make use of this conversation summary to help you with that handover as well. We also have the content assistant, not just in mobile app, but also in our inbox. So you can now make use of that when you are responding to any service requests or support tickets that are coming in. Combining this is an update both for sales as well as service. You can now add A/B testing in sequences as well. So this was again a very commonly requested feature, and this will allow you to tweak and see what is working better in terms of messaging for your own sequences as well. And the next, like I was making reference to earlier, now I'm able to see what the progress is at each and every level. So maybe I noticed that a certain LinkedIn message or a phone call is not making that switch into booking a meeting. So I can tweak those steps as well. So giving that granular step analytics is just going to help you tweak and make your sequences a lot more relevant. Again, this is an update that came a few months back, but now it's a live update available for everyone. You can now, especially for BDRs in the room, you can now book meetings on behalf of others. And that's going to make your life a lot easier rather than, checking multiple calendars to make this happen. So you can now do this right outside of HubSpot itself. The same, we can now add conditional redirection rules to lead form routing. This is something that is a part of our new updates on the workflow end. This is really useful when you want someone to be able to book something directly on a salesperson calendar from a form itself. I'm not sure how many of you use playbooks, but highly recommend you to set this up, especially if you have new sales teams being set up. And you can now create playbooks which become recommended based on which stage or which based on some filters that you can set up. So you have some advanced playbook recommendation options there. And you can also now have rich text formatting and snippets as a part of playbook options. So yeah, give it a spin. Personally, the rich text formatting has been really useful for me because I like to take down notes in a more bulleted format, and this just gives me the flexibility to do that. And you can also now seed these playbooks and assign them to custom object records as well. It's almost funny to imagine we didn't have that before, but now you can use that on custom objects as well. For our sales managers or sales enablement teams on the call, we now have the option of creating playlists to help and go through the different call recordings that are happening in HubSpot. And you can create like coaching playlists. So it'll be easy for you as a manager or as an enablement person to onboard and upskill these reps at scale. And you can put down your notes and suggestions based on the track terms on coaching as well. This almost sounds silly, but we couldn't send sequences on mobile until a few months back. So now we are able to do that. This is going to make life easier for the sales reps that are on the go. And this is available both for iOS as well as Android. Moving on to Operations Hub, just a quick few before I dive into the CRM updates, but you can now use AI assisted report descriptions. I personally struggle with this as well. So this is a game changer for me, and the same for generating reports with AI. Again, this is currently in private beta, so you might have to request and wait till you get access to this, but this is super useful. Right now, it's only for single object, but in the future, we're going to keep tweaking this and making it easier for you to create these kind of reports as well. And the same lies true for workflow descriptions. I think I generally just struggle coming up with descriptions for some of the complicated workflows that I create. This is going to make your life easier, especially if you have multiple workflows across the same kind of objects. This is going to make life easier from that respect. Last but not the least, the CRM platform updates. Now, these are updates specifically useful for companies that want to include and integrate multiple tools into HubSpot. Your life is going to be a lot easier with these updates now, because we now have opened up our system a little bit more so that you can add more React based applications as a part of your HubSpot system itself. Think the central pane in your HubSpot systems. You can add things like, maybe it's a food or a restaurant searching option, or you want to create some steps in there. You can start building these out as a part of your HubSpot system as well. A lot of our customers are using this to kind of connect it with their external systems. So think if you have a shipping use case and you want to use that tracker, you can build those trackers as a part of the CRM system itself. The same lies true for we've built some of these components already out of the box, so you can make use of that and then tweak it to your use case. But yeah, this is exciting to see that we're now able to edit and customize that CRM view for yourself. And taking it another step forward is you are able to kind of tweak this and make sure you don't just have the overview tab, but you can now add multiple custom views as well. And you can start adding in specific features or some of these other elements that we spoke about here. You can start adding them to the central view, the central pane of your contact records as well. Not sure if you've heard about this before, but this is actually something that was highly requested in our forums as well. We now have the capacity to create conditional properties. So, based on a certain property response, you can pop up other properties to record that information as well. A really good use case for it is the one that you see over here. If you've got a closed loss deal, you can then pop up a few other dependent fields, which are about, okay, what was the closed loss reason? What was the amount? Is there another future date that I should reconnect with them? So yeah, the sky's the limit when it comes to conditional properties. You can now also use advanced formulas for your calculated properties. I have played around with this quite a bit recently to do a complex calculations for commission calculations. That could be something that you use this advanced formula editor for. Honestly, again, we've just opened up the different um, formulas that you can use. So this will enable, you're not just stuck with some of the basic ones that we had in the past. So this is going to make life a lot easier for any complex calculations. The best part is you'd also don't, in the past, a lot of our customers had to export this out in an Excel or a Google Sheet and make these formulas created and kind of push it back into the HubSpot system. Now it takes away that hassle completely. And this is for all the security folks or folks who are in the highly compliant industries as well. You now have a centralized audit of all your audit log of all your user actions, and you can access this via a public API as well. So if this is something that you need to keep track on your compliance systems, then this can be super helpful to set that up. All right, so we went through a bunch of new updates, but I did want to walk you through how you can learn more about these. Like I said, the ideas forum is great to submit your ideas. The community is great to get some new ideas on some of our existing features, and to keep up to date with all the new updates that are happening. You can actually go to um, hubspot.com/new, and you will see all the new updates that are happening. And we've also put together some quick little videos so that it makes it a lot easier to consume the new updates. But yeah, keep an eye out, especially for our AI capabilities that are growing every day. Thank you so much for staying with us. Any questions that we can answer? Indeed, impressive updates. Happy to hear Amelie think that. Okay, long-winded question. How to manage contacts in HubSpot? Why and when to update lead status? Understanding the difference between managing a contact versus company. Do sales need to keep updating the lead status, or they manage leads on a company level? Great question. But it's not a very simple answer because it's going to depend on a lot of things. It's going to depend on obviously how your pipeline looks like, or how your um, business model looks like. But as a general rule of thumb, I would say think of any of your prospects as contacts, and the life cycle stage, or that's kind of like the go-to stage, go-to property that we use to track the progress of that particular contact through your entire sales journey. I would say, depending on how your team structure is, do you end up selling to multiple people in a single company, or do you have multiple, or do you just have a few people from a company that you're selling to? That is going to determine how you set up based on contacts or based on companies. And one last thing that I will mention here is why and when to update the lead status. I think that is something that you can actually automate using workflows rather than try and figure it out and then manually update it as and where there is. There are some best practices here. We can pull up some of our blog articles around this and send it over. Josephine, are we able to add that to our follow up email that goes out to the attendees?
Yeah, of course. I can do that.
Amazing. Yeah, so Amanda and I can search for a few of those and send it over. Of course. Amanda, did you want to add something for Malin's question?
No, I think that that's great. Like you're saying, there's a lot of different answers to that question, and there's some automation and there's some parts that might just be in the sales process, like I talked about. In my part, there's a little bit about also educating sales reps and so forth. Like it could be part of the sales process to update this and so on.
Thanks, Ray. Good to hear that. Will predictive lead scoring be kept in enterprise? I think so. Mostly because we want to make a bit more money as well. But to be fair, it is something that requires quite a bit of there's a lot that happens in the back end, and because of that it is kind of a part of the enterprise product. But to be fair, you can also start building your own scores. Have you tried building a HubSpot score using the positive and the negative attributes? Because that's a really good first step towards using predictive lead scoring. Okay, good to know that. All right. Yeah, so I think we're going to stick with that being an enterprise, but I never know, we keep making updates.
I found a
Any
blog
other questions?
post. Here we go. I just found a blog post about the lead status that we've put out. It's still very basic, but might help a little bit.
Perfect.
All right. I guess one last tip that I'll give, it's not so much HubSpot specific, but I have found it really useful for a lot of my prospects who are figuring out how to build the pipeline. I actually use ChatGPT for it. So I asked ChatGPT what are the ideal stages, pipeline stages one should have in, let's say, a manufacturing industry. And it pops out some really good suggestions there.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and close this session now if there's no other questions. But thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you so much, Amanda and Mega.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a good day, all of you.
Bye bye.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.